If you've ever tried to build a new habit and failed, know that the problem isn't a lack of discipline or willpower. The biggest mistake holding you back from creating lasting habits is relying on motivation instead of having a system. Motivation is fleeting, and if you depend on it, sooner or later you'll give up. Real change happens when you transform your identity, start small, and create an environment that supports your habits. Here's the path to building habits that actually stick. Change your identity before changing your habits. Instead of focusing on what you want to do, focus on who you want to become. If you want to read more, think of yourself as a person who reads. Start small, but never break the streak. Progress doesn't come from initial intensity, but from consistent repetition. Do the bare minimum at first, just to ensure you'll keep going. Create an environment that supports action. Make good habits easy and bad habits hard. If you want to work out, leave your gym clothes ready. If you want to sleep better, keep your phone away from the bed. Now that you know what to do, let's understand why this works and how to apply these concepts efficiently. But before we go on, I believe this content will help you see habits in a new light. Imagine how much you could grow by applying this to your daily life. These are just some of the many insights I share around here. So, if you want to keep learning and transforming your routine, you know where to find me. 1. The biggest mistake that stops you from building habits. Most people believe that building a habit depends on motivation and willpower. But the problem is that motivation isn't reliable. It works well in the beginning, when everything is new and excitement is high. But over time, routine sets in, fatigue creeps up, and the real world starts testing your resolve. If your habit depends on your emotional state, it's doomed to fail. Think about how many times you've started something full of energy, like a workout, a diet, or a new project, and after a few days or weeks, you started losing momentum until you gave up entirely. This happens because motivation is temporary, fluctuating with your mood, stress levels, or daily distractions. Now, compare that to habits you maintain automatically, like brushing your teeth. You don't need motivation to do it because it's become an automatic behavior. And that's exactly what needs to happen with any habit you want to bring into your life. The real key to building lasting habits isn't momentary willpower, but the repetition of small, consistent actions until they become natural and automatic. Instead of relying on motivation, you need a system that eliminates the need to decide all the time. If you depend on your willpower to act every day, sooner or later you'll find an excuse to procrastinate. But if you structure your routine so the habit is the easiest path, it'll stick effortlessly. The secret isn't having more discipline than others, but creating an environment and a process that make consistency inevitable. 2. How to fix this mistake and build habits that last. Now that you understand the problem, let's dive into the 3 essential strategies to fix it and build habits that truly endure. 1. Change your identity before changing your habits. Most people make the mistake of focusing only on the end result without changing how they see themselves. But here's the secret. What you do is a consequence of who you believe you are. For example, if you want to build a reading habit but see yourself as someone who doesn't have the patience to read, your mind will always find ways to justify that belief. But if you see yourself as a person who reads every day, your mind will work in favor of that new behavior. Identity comes before action, and when you internalize a new identity standard, the behavior tied to it becomes automatic. Instead of saying, "I want to read more," say, "I'm a person who reads every day." Instead of saying, "I want to run a marathon," say, "I'm a runner. I train because it's part of who I am." This completely shifts your relationship with the habit. The action stops being an effort and becomes a natural expression of your identity. Now, ask yourself, who do I need to be for this habit to become part of my life? Answer that question and act in line with that new identity. Every time you repeat a behavior, you're reinforcing a version of yourself. So, instead of waiting to become that person in the future, act like that person now. 2. Start small and stay consistent. Many people believe that to change their lives, they need to make big transformations all at once. But that's a mistake. Real change doesn't come from intensity, it comes from repetition. If you start with an overly ambitious goal, like working out for an hour a day or reading a book a week, the initial effort might feel exciting, but it quickly becomes unsustainable. The secret is to start with actions so small that there's no excuse not to do them. Want to start exercising? Do just 5 minutes a day. Want to build a reading habit? Read just 1 page a day. Want to meditate? Start with 1 minute of mindful breathing. What seems small today builds up over time. After a few weeks, these tiny steps become part of your routine, and increasing the intensity feels natural. Another key point: never break the streak. If one day you can't do your full routine, scale it down, but don't skip it entirely. No time for a full workout? Do a few push-ups. Not in the mood to read a whole chapter? Read 1 paragraph. The goal isn't perfection, it's consistency, because consistency builds automatic habits. Remember, doing a little every day is far more powerful than doing a lot once in a while. 3. Create a system that makes action easy. Most people underestimate the power of their environment in building habits. But the truth is, you don't need more willpower. You need a system that makes the good habit inevitable. Your habits are heavily influenced by the context around you. If your environment makes the behavior you want to adopt harder, it'll be a daily struggle to stay disciplined. But if your environment makes it easier, the habit happens almost effortlessly. The secret is to remove barriers to good habits and create obstacles for bad ones. Want to eat better? Don't keep junk food at home and make healthy options always accessible. Want to study more? Keep your study materials visible and within reach. Want to exercise? Lay out your workout clothes the night before. Want to read more? Leave a book in strategic spots, like your nightstand or couch. Want to avoid social media? Log out of accounts or delete distracting apps. Small changes in your environment reduce the need for discipline and make the right choice the easiest path. Another powerful strategy is to tie a new habit to something you already do naturally. This is called habit stacking, and it works like this. After brushing my teeth, I'll read 1 page of a book. After having breakfast, I'll review my daily schedule. After getting in the car, I'll listen to an audiobook instead of music. These small tweaks eliminate the mental effort of remembering the habit because it becomes linked to something already in your routine. Finally, avoid relying on motivation and eliminate unnecessary decisions. The less you have to think to act, the more likely you are to stick with the habit. Remember, success doesn't come from extreme discipline, but from a well-designed environment. 3. Conclusion. Building lasting habits isn't about willpower, it's about strategy. If you've tried to change your routine in the past and failed, it wasn't because you lacked motivation, but because you didn't build a system that works in your favor. The secret to turning a behavior into an automatic habit lies in how you structure your identity, your routine, and your environment. Let's recap the 3 pillars for building habits that truly last. Change your identity before changing your actions. Don't just focus on the outcome, but on the person you want to become. When you see yourself as someone who has that habit, acting that way becomes natural. Start small, but never break the streak. Repetition matters more than intensity. Take steps so small that failure is impossible, and over time, build momentum. The key is to keep going. Make good habits easy and bad habits hard. Your environment has a huge impact on your behavior. Make the right choice more accessible and the wrong choice harder, so acting the right way becomes the natural path. In the end, habits aren't built overnight. They're strengthened with every small decision. And the more you practice these strategies, the easier it'll be to create any habit you want. Now I want to know, what habit do you want to start building? Leave it in the comments and commit to that change.